I can vouch for the fact that you were at work yesterday. I was in your offices when I
Yeah.
was interviewing Andy Moore. And was that your first day back at work?
No, I was back the Thursday before, so we've pretty busy end of September. So yeah, about to the Thursday was probably the most I could take. Just
Physically.
my own just pile of work was building up there, so
Oh, I
need to
thought you
get
meant,
back and tackle it. Yeah.
I thought you meant physically. I couldn't celebrate.
Ah, yeah,
anymore.
that too
That
as well. Yeah, I had my fill at that stage. Yeah, time to get back into reality.
Do you stay together as a group for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Does it start to break off into side sessions and various pockets?
No, I try and stay to the group
Yeah.
as much as you can. Obviously, all the lads have people pulling out of them, family, friends, and girlfriends and stuff like that. So, there's a lot of celebrating to jam in with various different people. I guess on the Tuesday is the one day that we kind of earmark just the lads. We'll go off and we'll all meet up and have a feed of pints together, and that's a great day. That's probably the one that you look forward to most out of the lot.
Just you, no hangers on, nobody else.
No, yeah,
just us.
just the guys go off to kind of a pub, pick a pub, an obscure pub, and kind of out of town or whatever, and set up camp and take it all in and enjoy it, because they're the guys that you've soldiered with all year. They really know what the sacrifices you've gone through, the hard work that you've put in, and they're the guys that you kind of look at in the eye at the final whistle and get to really enjoy those final moments with. So to celebrate with them is very important to do.
Well, only you all understand the full extent of the journey from January. And
Exactly.
before.
Yeah,
So
there's a strange kind of bond that's formed there as a result. So
Jack McCaffrey was in a while back and he was saying, I'd meet any of those guys for coffee anytime.
Yeah.
That's, we're from different parts of Dublin, different interests, different people away from it, but there's something at the core there. I'd love all those guys, kind of a vibe is what he was saying.
There's a kind of unspoken understanding or whatever it is, and you can't even see it with other intercounty players. There is some commonality there. You've both been through some crazy stuff, and always find it very easy to socialise with those guys as well.
Do you?
Yeah.
Other counties, just
yeah.
Same page, you get
same
certain
page,
things.
you get what they've been through and all that stuff, and yeah.
How were your hamstrings this year?
Yeah, quite good. It was great. Touch wood. Whatever I was doing was keeping the hamstrings at bay and just looking after my training load. I guess I've played a number of years now that I kind of know what I can and can't do.
Right.
And unfortunately, you have to go about that the hard way and just training smart. And then the prehab is pretty key as well.
Okay, so you doing yoga, foam rolling, all
loads of foam rolling and
stuff.
loads of TheraBand stuff, and getting in to see the masseurs maybe once a week just to iron out any kinks and stuff like that. So it's just knowing your body, and unfortunately that comes with experience, and I kind of learned the hard way.
Will you sit out a few sessions now across the year where needs be, kind of thing?
Yeah, and the management are very good and very smart about that, and we have a great S&C there, and our strength and conditioning coach in Brian Cullen knows his stuff, and he kind of tailors the load and the training regime for guys that need it.
Well, I'm sure. What's the biggest difference in your preparation, the things that you might do of a given week during the season between 2017 and say 09-10 when you came on the scene?
09-10, fresh blood. You're trying to eke your way into the team. You're trying to impress. You can't really afford to sit out in training sessions like that.
Yeah.
You're going gung-ho in every training session. You're giving it, not that you're giving 110%, but you know which sessions that you need to earmark now as the ones where you need to be playing at 100%. Other ones might be, a 70% session or whatever. 9 and 10, every session was a 100% session for me. And in those years as well, we had long campaigns with the club. So it was like 15 months, well, not even 15 months. There was probably a 26-month season there, and the body just kind of gave way. It was just too many training sessions, too many masters to serve, and it's unfortunate that can happen. And you can even see with some of the guys coming in from the under-21 setup this year that they picked up little knocks. It's just very hard going from being at the top end of fitness and conditioning in April and not allowing the body to take a break or get in a block of a couple of weeks to let it wind down and going straight into another system where it's 100% again, and you're fighting for a place.
Yeah, you can't say.
That's the thing.
You can't say as a 20-year-old, Jim, you know what I can do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, not that I'd be saying that now either, but I just know, and I'm a bit more confident in saying, if I have to make a call on this, the worst case here is that I get injured, and it's not worse than me saying to Jim, here, look, I might need to step out of session here. So it's the lesser of two evils, I guess.
Yeah. So the Super 8s next year is going to change the whole complexion of your season. A similar pattern this year for you guys. So like breeze through Leinster is the reality. Monaghan, Tyrone. As you watched Mayo go in their odyssey and really click against Roscommon and then really click, tough semi-final, but came through brilliantly against Kerry. Were you sitting there feeling envious? Did you feel under-prepped as a team, as an individual?
No, like we didn't know we were going to be playing Mayo in the final until after the Tyrone game. So, from that perspective, like we wouldn't be looking at other teams throughout the campaign. Obviously, you're keeping half an eye on what Tyrones and Mayos and Kerrys of this world are doing, but you're so focused on the job in hand that you have that you don't really deviate from that at all. So I didn't properly look at Mayo until, like, obviously was following their games like anyone else was, but just as like a passive onlooker.
Yeah,
I wasn't really looking at exactly what they were doing until the 3 weeks before the All Ireland. So I guess it probably wasn't something that came into my
already on your mind,
my psyche at all.
Because it would strike me, you guys would be a better team for having come through the Mayo game. Say the Mayo All Ireland final was the semi-final. That would stand to you in the final. You might put in a better performance.
Oh yeah, there's no denying that.
Yeah,
there's no denying that coming through games like that
helps
a team. 100%. And we try and emulate that in our training.
How close do you get?
You can never get
Yeah.
to that point. You can never emulate the closing minutes of the game when Dino has to step up and take a free, and then trying to close it out thereafter. You can never emulate that in a training session, but you try and get it as close as you possibly can, and that's the best you can do.
You'll never have the adrenaline either.
No,
you just can't.
And you won't have 80,000 people
Exactly.
screaming at you, and
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how this Dublin team finds next year. Tougher games, presumably in the Super 8s, big crowds, that adrenaline.
Yeah.
Really getting to play around with game plans and I guess reacting to different situations. And it'll be interesting to see how you arrive in an All Ireland final situation if you get there. I appreciate, yeah. But curious to see that, because I looked at your prep this year and I thought, God, it's going to be really, really difficult for this team to walk onto Croke Park against Mayo and peak and put their absolute best foot forward. Really difficult.
Yeah. And again, that's not something that we'd ever consider ourselves, because we're always just looking at ourselves.
Yeah, it's probably bad psychology for you guys to be talking in the dressing room like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, definitely take your point.
Yeah, okay. So Wikipedia, by the way, says you 4 All Irelands. I'm talking. We're up to 5 though, aren't we?
5, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
5 and a club one there somewhere as well. So
yeah, there was a moment. You probably didn't see it, or maybe you did online, but it's just like camera picked out Dermot Connolly and Paul Flynn in the middle of the pitch at full time.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah, someone showed that to me. Yeah.
It's this amazing moment where you get a glimpse of the kind of joy and the relationship you guys have, because Connolly gives Flynn a rub in the head and puts up 4 fingers. 4.
Yeah.
And Flynn just goes, it's 5. Yeah. And Connolly goes, oh my God, 5.
Yeah. And I think that's credit to the kind of how tight this team is, and how we try and shut out all the externals going into big games like that, and how narrow our focus is on the task at hand, because there's not one mention of 3 in a row, and I'd expect the same of other teams, but we just work really hard, not letting that kind of stuff seep in at all. And it's perfectly plausible then at the end of the final for someone to be like, I was even thinking, people keep on saying to me, 3 in a row, it's massive. It's just, it still hasn't sunk home for me yet, because it's not something I considered at all throughout the year, and it still really hasn't hit home. And I guess over the next couple of weeks, as things die down and the dust settles, is something that I'll be able to reflect on properly. But I think it's credit to the management and the mindset and the mind frame that they get us into going into these games.
Because already, say it was the end of your career, 5 All Irelands, the Club All Ireland. I mean, it's a fairly legendary career already, and it must be an amazing thing. Like, nobody can take that away from you now, whatever happens. And you think back to your first game against Kerry, the Startled Earwigs game, and like you must at some point, I'm sure over the next couple of months, think to yourself, me winning 5 All Irelands was, and I would believe it, genuinely not something you thought was on the cards in 09, 10, 11, really like 5, and you're not done yet for sure, but it's that,
Oh yeah, like
what is that? What does that feel like? And I know you hasn't sunk in, blah blah blah, but do you walk down the street, or are you in your car sometimes and you think, man, this is bloody amazing. I can't believe this is happening.
yeah, you just to be honest, no, like because I just haven't had a chance to do that. I will, like last year and the year before around Christmas time when families together, we usually throw on the All Ireland final. Now if we'd lost the games, probably wouldn't be doing that. But it's just something that we've done, and it's kind of then that it really hits home to me.
Okay.
It's after all the celebrating and all that stuff, and you have the week or two off work around the Christmas holidays, and yeah, like we've club championship in 2 days' time, and it's back and straight into club mode and focusing on that, and you just don't get a chance to sit back and really reflect
on how great you are.
No, not that at all, but just reflect on what you've been part of.
Yeah, no, the Christmas thing sounds nice. So who gets around for that? Is that like a tradition now at this stage?
It's not really a tradition. Like it's just happened in the last. My dad would, he's probably watched the games a couple of times now at this stage, and he always sees the opportunity around Christmas Eve or Christmas Day when the family's around. So yeah, it'd be my direct family and the in-laws, whoever's up for Christmas, and flick it on, and
that's great.
Yeah, it is. It's a lovely thing to do, and I've just been so lucky to have been playing football with Dublin in this 10-year gap. Like, I was born in 1988. That's just the look of it, that I am the age I am now, and I get to play with players like Stephen Cluxton, Paul Flynn, Mick McCauley, Bernard Brogan. These guys, Dermot Conley, these guys don't come around too often.
Yeah.
And, Kieran Whelan's sister works with me, and I would have played in my first year with Kieran, and he started playing with Dublin in 1996, finished playing with Dublin in 2009 or 2010, and just straddled the 2 years, and one of the all-time great footballers with Dublin, and he was unlucky in that regard. I'm very lucky, and something that I'm very conscious of and constantly remind myself of.
The game itself was amazing to watch. Unbelievable intensity. When you sit down and watch it over Christmas and you're a few kilos heavier with the Christmas dinner, you'll kind of be going, bloody hell, right?
Stay awake.
Yeah. You seem to be picking up Aidan O'Shea initially, but then he was going deep a little bit, helping out with his brother and with Parsons. They were winning, I think they won 6 of the 8 long Dublin kickouts.
Yeah.
And at times it looked like, will I go with him? Not too sure. It seemed like an uncomfortable first 35 minutes for you, generally speaking. What's your memory of it?
Yeah, it's probably a fair enough thing to say, uncomfortable. I think Jack going off just threw us a little bit. Paul came on, and there was a bit of a reshuffle in personnel, and we just we didn't batten down that structural piece properly when Paul came in, and there was just a bit of chaos there in terms of how we were setting up, and that didn't help things. And obviously Mayo did very well on our kickouts and hemmed us in. And I guess like there's probably 2 aspects to the kickouts. There's the kick itself, and then, but more importantly, is the movement that's being made, and the options that are being created for the keeper, and that just wasn't what we needed to be.
Wasn't that aspect wasn't
that
as
aspect
good.
wasn't
Okay.
Yeah, no, it wasn't up to par at all. From the back 6 and the 2 midfielders.
How choreographed is that, or is it just you run into certain areas? Is it as complex as when X makes that move, then you make that move?
You can't. Like, football is such a hectic and chaotic game when you start going down that road of this is exactly what we're going to, because the reality is the football is going to be on the tee 5, 6, 7 seconds after the ball goes over the bar. You're after tracking back a Mayo player. I could be playing centre back, but I could be back in the corner back position. You can't expect me to get out into the centre back then within the space of, so you just, and I've been involved in setups in the past when you've tried to do that, and it's kind of, I remember one person coined the phrase, or it's well off, paralysis by analysis, and you just really get bogged down in it, and you have to have the freedom and the free flow.
So it's up to you guys to move, get your head up and look where the space is, and trust that Cluxton finds you.
And trust that he's going to get it out as quick as he can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at half time then, so you change. I mean, half time's interesting because you come out and Cluxton goes short.
Yeah.
And you win 11 of 11.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that it's not like you necessarily suddenly started moving brilliantly out the field and Cluxton started pinging 45-yard balls. It seemed to be, let's just 100% secure possession. Was that talked about at halftime, or did it unfold that way?
Yeah, we kind of we talked about basically creating better options for Stephen on the kick out. And I don't know if Mayo changed their setup in the second half as well in terms of how they were pressing our kickouts, because it just seemed to be a bit easier for us to get the kicks off.
Right.
And maybe even especially after they went the man down, or we both went to man down.
Andy Moran sort of said that once you go to 14, it's very hard
It's
to
very
press.
yeah, it is hard to do that kind of zonal press. So we just said that we wanted to keep our width and try and create as many options as we could for Stephen on the short kick out. We were playing into Mayo's hands by kind of coming in more narrowly in the first half. Yeah, and thankfully, like the speed of the kick out that he was getting them off in the second half, no matter what strategy you're trying to play against the team,
Yeah.
if the keeper's getting the ball out quick and on the tee quick, you're hopeless. You can't do anything.
There's a lot of phenomenal things about this Dublin team. Perhaps one of the biggest credit to you guys is that, unlike, say, the great Kerry team, they won all their All-Ireland finals, or a lot of them, by big enough margin. You're the opposite.
Yeah.
These are seriously
Very
uncomfortable,
tight.
tight games.
Yeah.
You have, so Mayo this year a 1-point game, the draw last year and another 1-point game, Kerry in 2011 a 1-point game, Mayo in 2013 a 1-point game. You boys aren't kind of ole the last 2 minutes. This is not what's going on here. So those last 5-6 minutes, what's your sense of what's going on? I know you're going to use the word process here. That's banned from this answer. So talk to me. It has to it has to cross your mind we're into end of the game territory, clearly.
Yeah.
Everyone's aware of that, fans, players, management. So give us your sense of what you're thinking.
I wouldn't even say process is the word either, like, as well, because it's something that you can't really emulate on a training pitch, or you can't sit up at a flip chart in a team meeting and say this is what we're going to do in this situation. You have to have gone through experiences and matches like that before and just learned how to dig it out. I can't put my finger on what the specific thing is, but it's trying to stay in control of the game and not losing your composure. And there's nothing you can do other than having the experience of grinding it out in 2011, which was a massive turning point for this team and group of players, and coming through
do you tighten up
like that.
Yeah, do you tighten up in some respects? I doubt you get nervous because you're so warmed up and so in the flow of the game at that stage, but is there some tightening, or is it fine, you're just in the flow, there's no difference when you're kicking a ball 20 metres, 30 metres?
No, you wouldn't tighten up. Like, we've come through those situations so many times in the past that I think just subconsciously everyone has the belief that we will come through this again.
There's a lot of trust actually out there.
Yeah, there's an incredible amount of trust. And for instance, I'll give you an example. When Dean was stepping up to kick that score, I knew he was capable of kicking that score, and I had every faith that he would kick it over.
So did Lee Keegan.
Yeah, and like they're the kind of things when you have that trust and belief in the game plan, and what you're trying to execute, that really helps you not deviate away from that. 2009, for example, we shipped 2 early goals against Kerry, and as you referenced at the start of the weeks, game plan out the window. Right. Everyone running around the place. Oh my God, how do we claw this game back? Just absolute chaos.
Right.
That's exactly what you don't need.
Okay, interesting. So, I mean, you work the score, you get the score, and we will talk to Lee Keegan about the GPS. Don't worry when he's in. We'll bring that up. I'm not picking on Dublin here. But then Clark puts the ball down. This is my vantage point. I've got a perfect view. Clark puts the ball down, takes a few steps back, and between, I'd say, the 21 and the 45, pretty much from what I can see, every Dublin player is wrestling the Mayo player to the ground. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, like, I think since after the game, there's, I've talked to a lot of people, and there's been a lot of positive comments, and it's been heralded as one of the most epic All-Ireland finals. Some people have said it was the best sporting occasion that, they've ever attended. And
it's right up there for me.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
And I think there has been a lot of narrative and discussion about kind of negative aspects of the game, like the GPS situation and the lads holding on to players at the end and the sendings off and stuff like that. And I wouldn't like that to take away from what a great spectacle it was, and what a positive game of football and showing of football it was. Two teams going at it, giving everything they have, and putting it all out in the line. Those closing minutes, I guess, from our perspective, we'd never put up on the poster board before going out to a game saying that this is what we're going to do to a team at the end. We're going to whatever wrestle them to the ground, or we don't want to play the game that way. I fully appreciate that is what happened at the end, but I guess it must be just something in your human nature that comes out of you when the game is in the melting pot like that. There's so much on the line. You've basically put your life on hold for the last 9-10 months. And I think if the roles were reversed and it was the other way around, like I'd probably expect Mayo to do the exact same thing to us.
So would I.
There's so much at stake.
So would I. Andy Moran was asked yesterday, would he do the same thing? Would Mayo do the same thing? And he said, I don't know. But he did say, I would be hoping we would be clinical enough to close out the game. Would we have done the same thing? I'm not sure. I think they would have. I think most teams would have. I guess the reason it galled me at the time is because, and this is the only reason, is because there was a slight hypocrisy in that Gavin, I've so many quotes from down the years of playing the game the right way. After the Westmeath game last year, we want our players, defenders to win individual battles, but not in any malicious or devious way. Gavin, when Fitzmaurice came out and said, well, earlier this year, these Dublin boys are no angels, Gavin came out and said, we're not a cynical team, we play the right way. I mean, I just think the reality is Dublin are the same as every other team. And that's the reality. And so that's, these are Jim Gavin's quotes. They're not your quotes. I'll talk to Jim about it another time. But I'm glad you held your hands up and say, yeah, look, I appreciate it happened. It did happen.
Yeah. And I guess at the core of it is two teams giving it everything they've got and trying to win the ultimate prize that you've been, since you were a young kid and could consciously think about winning an All Ireland. That's the kind of moment you're living for. And we were pressing up on them on their kick out. We were going man to man at that point, and I guess some lads just went a little too man to man.
Yeah. No one wants to be the guy whose man wins the ball, runs up the field, and loses the game. And I get it.
We've been on the receiving end of games like that in the past when teams have etched out victories against us by doing the exact same thing. It was an All Ireland semi-final a number of years ago that we played in, and we were getting beaten well at half time. We started coming back into the game in the second half, and then the opposition and I'd have no ill will towards any of those players or that team at all, but they were very clinical in seeing out the game, and they just were failing us all over the pitch and wouldn't let us build our momentum back up. And that was what they needed to do to get to the final.
Yeah. It's part of the game, is the reality. I get it. I mean,
think so.
It's what happens.
In basketball, like they have teams, opposition teams. They have a number of professional fouls that they can use, and they start using them towards the end of the game to try and